You got caught. Not because you were careless, not because you made a mistake, because sometimes the ocean gives you everything, and then one Tuesday morning, the Navy shows up with more ships than you have, and that is simply how the day goes. And now you are here. A cell in a stone prison somewhere in the Caribbean point 1700s. And this is what that life actually looks like. The first thing that happens is they take everything. Not just your weapons, not just your gold, everything, your coat, your hat, your boots, the compass from your belt that you never actually used but always carried, the small things, the things that were yours in a way that went beyond their practical value. They take all of it, and they hand you something in return. Rough cloth, gray, shapeless, and you put it on because there is no other option. And in that moment, in the specific moment of putting on clothes that belong to no one and mean nothing, you understand for the first time what they are actually trying to do. It is not about security. It is about identity. Take away what a person carries, and you begin the process of making them forget who they are. That is the first lesson of this life. And you learn it on day one. The cell is smaller than you expected. Not because you expected luxury, but because your mind, even trying to prepare for the worst, could not quite imagine how small actually is when the door closes and the lock turns. Stone walls. A small window with bars, just large enough to show you a piece of sky and remind you that the sky still exists. A wooden bench that serves as a bed. The smell of damp stone and salt air, and the specific staleness of a space that has held people before you and will hold people after you. You sit on the bench. You look at the four walls. And then you stand up. Because sitting still in a space that small is a choice you will not make if you can avoid it. The days have a shape. Not in good shape, but a shape. And you learn very quickly that shape is the thing that keeps you. Not hope. Not plans. Not the idea of escape. Shape. The guards come at the same time every morning. The food arrives, and I use the word food loosely, at the same time every day. A thin broth that has committed to being neither satisfying nor offensive. Bread that has made peace with being hard. You eat it. Not because it is good, because it is the event, because in a day that has almost no events, it is one of the ones that exist. And you treat every small event as if it matters. Because in here it does, the other prisoners. This is the part that surprises you. You expected the worst. You got something more complicated. The man in the cell beside yours, who has been here for 3 years and has somehow managed to maintain a dry sense of humor about all of it. The younger prisoner across the corridor, who is terrified and trying not to show it, and doing a poor job, and you remember being that age and feeling exactly that way. The old pirate 2 cells down, who has been in and out of prison cells since before you were born, treats the whole experience with the weary familiarity of someone checking into a hotel they do not particularly like, but know very well. These people become your world, not because you chose them, because proximity and shared circumstance create something that is not friendship exactly, but is nothing either. You learn things from them. Small things. Practical things. Which guard is more lenient on which days? How to request something without it sounding like a request. How to make the hours pass without losing yourself to them. The accumulated knowledge of people who have navigated this specific situation before you. You accept it. Because pride is a luxury, and information is not. The thing about time in here. On the ship, time had texture. The morning check had a different quality than the afternoon sailing. The storm had a completely different texture from the calm. 1 hour at sea in a crisis felt nothing like 1 hour at sea in good weather. This time is flat. Every hour has the same texture as every other hour, and your mind, which was built for the texture of a life that moves, starts doing things to compensate. You replay memories, not just pleasant ones. All of them. You replay that decision you made 3 ports ago that you knew was wrong when you made it. You replay the conversation with someone you should have handled differently. You replay things you said that landed wrong, and things you should have said and did not. A prison cell with nothing in it, but time is a very thorough auditor of your life. IT will show you everything you have been too busy to look at, and some of it is uncomfortable, and some of it is genuinely useful. And the difference between the prisoners who come out of here better and the ones who come out worse is almost entirely about which parts they chose to look at honestly and which parts they ran from even in the smallest cell imaginable. The window. There is a window, small, barred, high on the wall. Just a rectangle of whatever the sky is doing today. Some days it is blue and the light through it falls in a way that lands on the stone floor like something that does not belong in this room. Some days it is gray and the rain comes in slightly at the edges, and the smell of the rain on stone is the most alive smell in your world. Some days the light changes in the late afternoon, and for approximately 40 minutes the cell is a completely different color. You start to notice these things, not because you are poetic about your situation, Because when the available world shrinks to this size, you either start seeing it in more detail or you stop seeing it entirely. And stopping seeing is the thing you are most careful not to do. The escape that never comes the way you planned. You think about escaping. Of course you do. You map the guards. You study the routines. You look at the window for longer than is reasonable given its obvious structural limitations. You plan 7 different versions of an escape. None of them works. Not because you are not resourceful, because the 17th century built prisons specifically for resourceful people. And the ones who did escape mostly did it not through the wall, but through the door. Through patience. Through making themselves useful to the right person at the right time. Through finding the one thing that worked in their favor and pressing on it steadily for months. Not heroics. Leverage. The lesson of every successful escape in history is not boldness. That it is the ability to find what someone else needs and be the person who provides it. And then one day the door opens. Not because of your 7 escape plans. Because something shifted outside these walls that you had no knowledge of and no control over. A deal was made. A war ended. A document was signed somewhere that had your name in it without your knowledge. The guard opens the door, and you walk out. Into the light, into the air, into the world that kept existing while you were in here. And the first thing you feel is not triumph. It is the specific strangeness of space. Too much space. Your body is still accounting for walls that are no longer there. Your eyes are overwhelmed by a horizon that goes on and on without stopping. You stand in the open air outside the prison, and you are briefly paralyzed by the vastness of a world you forgot was this large. And then you start walking. Back to the ship, you find her eventually, the rotten kraken, still there, still floating, still waiting in the way ships wait, indifferently, patiently, ready. You put your hand on the hull, and something in you that had been held very still and very small in that cell for however long it was, releases. You are back. Not unchanged. You will never be the same person who was taken off the ship on that Tuesday morning. That person is gone. But who replaced him? That is the interesting part. That is what the cell gave you that the ship never could. Time to look at yourself without the distraction of everything else. And what you found when you looked, that is yours, whether it was comfortable or not, whether you liked it or not. That is the only thing that prison cannot take from you. What you choose to do with what you find when there is nothing left to hide behind. This is Captain Borehead. This is the Rotten Kraken that we will see you on the next voyage.